Welcome to Reality with Kiki. I'm your host, Kiki, and on this channel, we discuss reality TV, celebrity gossip, and viral topics. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. You can also follow us on our Facebook page. A link will be in the description box below, and we also have it linked in our bio. All right, so Real Housewives of Potomac. So it's just, so everybody's starting to get ready, relaxing. Everybody's starting to get ready. Um, Ray's a mess because Karen telling him, come on, let's get ready, and he starts picking up the curling iron like he curling his hair. He is crazy. But Wendy is getting ready. She's looking gorgeous. Wendy has been serving us looks this entire season. I'm so excited for her. She has become a fan favorite. And the caterers come over because they are setting up for a seafood boil, right? So they're plating everything up, setting the tables, and production is so shady. So as they're putting the salads in the bowl, they slow down on the salad. I'm like, y'all childish. So, they go outside to eating some crabs. And Wendy makes a toast to the time they celebrated there, to Candace and her album, to Karen and Ray for celebrating 25 years. And everybody's kind of clapping. And I noticed Robin and Giselle are not sitting by each other, but Robin looks over to look at Giselle to see what her response is, to see how she should respond to everybody, happy and celebrating. Like, do you have a brain? Why are you looking to Giselle? How you should respond? It's weird. You are too damn old. So Candace asks Wendy, did your mom call or whatever, so so she could check up on the kids? And Wendy is like, yep, they're having fun, they're good. Ashley, she takes it upon herself, and just because of how messy Ashley has been in the past, I don't feel like she's had good intentions for bringing this up. But she asked if Eddie has spoken to his mom, because as we know, Eddie's family basically disowned him for marrying Wendy. And he better than me, because he's like, he answered her in a calm tone, and so did Wendy. They, kind of gave her a little bit, yep, I have spoken to her recently. She asked about how's the family, because she then tried to ask more questions and dig, oh, did she ask about the kids? Like, why? Because Ashley, since we're on a topic about parents and the door being open to having conversations, did your father open the door to you? Because the last time you went to go see him, he slammed it in your face. Let's talk about that. Because see, you're not really trying to make a connection. You're trying to be messy. You're trying to pry and get information, because if you were, you would have been trying to have a connection with him on that. But you didn't. So G starts making jokes about sleeping or something. I don't know. Giselle's like, oh, don't start making jokes about sleeping. It's going to be a problem. She's like, Ashley had an issue earlier, blah, blah, blah. They start getting into it. It really is just not even of any importance, because Ashley is just doing too much. Literally, G was being kind of annoying, but you just kind of ignore somebody like that. I'm not finna be upset and going back and forth with you about it. And so she's like, G is like, well, what was the problem? And she's like, when you were bothering me in that corner, he was like acting dumb, like he didn't know what she was talking about. Like, oh, what corner? What are you talking about? She's like, on the bus. He was like, we was on the bus. Blah, blah, blah. She said, Do you have amnesia? Mia stepped in and is like, oh, that's the ageist comment. You shouldn't say that, being that you're married to an older man as well. Ashley is like, I would have said the same thing to you. Blah, 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 blah. G is like, well, Ashley, if you were offended earlier, I apologize, but I'm not sorry for what I said, or something like that, to that, something of that nature. And then Ashley is like, well, you didn't need to add the last part. And Ashley, he could say whatever the hell he want. I don't know why you're trying to tell people how to say things to you or how to apologize. If you didn't want to hear it, there was no need to even engage in this conversation. It was stupid. All right, so whatever, argument over. So Wendy decides to put together to have Karen hop out of a cake because that's something that Ray told Karen that he wanted or whatever. It was cute. Everybody was having a good time. Of course, Robin and Giselle had sourpuss faces. No one cares. Giselle in her confessional says that Karen is doing it all wrong. She should have came out the cake naked with whipped cream on her nipples. And I'm just like, it seemed like you got all these tricks. You know so much. And yet nobody wants to be around Miss Hotbox. I thought it was cute, and they're an older couple. What sense would it make for them to be outside and for her to be naked? Really, Giselle? Why even say that? And then to say you would have been disgusted, you're disgusted at the thought of that. Now we know Miss Grandam is not about to show y'all her goodies. Come on now. All right, so Karen sends out her wedding invitations, and they are in a box. It's a box with butterflies. That's why she asks everyone to go and open their invitations outside. Whatever. Only people who had something negative to say were Robin and Giselle. Giselle's box, some of their butterflies were, I guess, dead. And, I just was like, it probably is your negative energy killing the butterflies. Surprisingly, Juan was participating in opening the invitation with Robin outside. Um, and when they started flying out, he tried to run back in the house and leave Robin, but the older boy locked the screen door so he couldn't get back in. I'm like, very indicative of their relationship. So we get to Mia, and Mia is her and G opens their wedding invitation, and then they had start to have a discussion about her mom watching the kids. So she said that once they were done on the trip, G wanted to do a little staycation with Mia for their eighth wedding anniversary, and they were not able to go. They were out for 2 hours and had to turn right back around because her mom kept texting Mia trying to figure out what to do. I think it was something about she got upset because she couldn't figure out what to feed the kids. And I'm just like, girl, if you don't go on Uber Eats and order these kids something to eat, I think that she was looking for a way out because I guess G stepped in and had like asked her why do you keep texting me, and why do you keep harassing her? And she's just like, well, these are your kids, and she hung up on them. So they had to turn around and go back home. And I guess her mother started going off on G. And he was like, in order to just not be disrespectful, he took it. But why are you going off? And G said he told her, you're not going to talk to me this way. And she stormed out. And I'm just like, it sounds like you were looking for any excuse to not be there. And I understand, like, Mia, I think more than anything, Mia wants her kids to have a relationship with her mom. And it's kind of like a second chance for her as well. And that will allow them to build their relationship. But it seems like it's not working out. Like, girl, you're going to have to get you another nanny. Okay, so we switch over to Giselle. She brings her girls to some like garden farm so they could pick out um, some plants for their front yard. And she starts to have a conversation with the girls, like, oh, she's thinking about bringing somebody to Karen's vow renewals. And they're like, no, like, who are you really dating? If this not somebody you really know, why would you bring them? And she's like, you're right. And they're like, we don't want you to be like alone. They said alone and gross. One thing about these girls, they're going to read her down every time. they're like, you're not really dating anybody. And she's like, I'm casually dating. And they're like, okay, well, do you want a serious relationship? She said no. They're like, okay, so you're dating for fun. You are not dating with intention. Like, what is the point? So she goes on to say how, like, the girls have told her that she is emotionally unavailable and she has been that way in her romantic relationships and she doesn't want them to do that when they start dating. And Grace is like, pretty much like, well, we don't have anybody to look up to as far as being in a relationship and being emotionally available. We don't see you being in a loving relationship, and we don't see our father, you know, in a relationship because we know Jamal is having fun with everybody. Okay? And I think that that is a good point that she brought up. Like, what type of examples do we have? Our parents didn't show us any examples. You did not date again and find a good example. So you can tell somebody what you don't want them to do, but there was nothing to model after. So it's like, I don't know if Giselle needs therapy or something, but like, what are you showing the girls that you're actively working to be emotionally available? And like, even to your children. So, like, in all types of relationships, you should be willing to be more open. And, Grace is just like, it's not your fault, right? That the relationship that you did have with our father didn't work out. And even in that, it kind of seemed like Giselle was trying to defend him because she's like, there were things that I didn't discuss with your father that could have possibly, helped our relationship, but I didn't. And it's just like, well, what discussion is there to be had if this man is constantly cheating on you and having children on you? There's no discussion because that has nothing to do with what is going on with Giselle and everything to do with him. And I don't think that there is no need for necessarily protection of him or how they perceive him because these girls are not dumb. They are very smart. They know what's going on and they could easily go on Google and find all the tea on their father and some on you. So, like, children, and right, they're not like little children, but I think like at especially more mature ages, like as kids grow up, like they respect you more when you're honest. Just being honest about the situation. Like, I feel like they feel like they were on the outskirts and they didn't really understand what was going on because they didn't know. Like, it was never a discussion on why the divorce happened, why they're not together, why you were never able to like get into another loving relationship. And again, it's not all on Giselle, but you kind of kept them in the dark. And so the girls are like, you're kind of like a vampire. It's like you don't have any feelings. And Giselle's like, okay, well, I'm gonna do better. And all right, so we move on to Ashley. She's going to therapy. Has the baby with her. Um, Child, she's discussing having sex with Michael and feeling like her old self. And child, I do not care. We do not want to hear about Ashley and Michael having sex, getting it in. But apparently, Michael does not want to have sex. He's not in the mood ever. Still don't care. All right, moving on to something more interesting. So Wendy is doing a photo shoot for her home line. She has her candles. The photo shoot includes her mom, and her daughter. It's very adorable. I like their color of their like their cozy outfits. It's really cute. So things start to go left at the photo shoot because Wendy's mom asks the photographer if he went to school for photography, and he says no. I'm an engineer. And Wendy's like, of course you are. You're African or Nigerian. I can't remember what she said. And if you know anything about a Nigerian household, like, there, first of all, there's two things, right? One, you better be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, right? And the other thing is everything is a competition. So they want to know what other people kids are doing, right? So I feel like with Wendy's mom, the reason she pushed her kids to do the things that they did is because of course you want your kids to do good, but it also it has a competitive edge to it as well. There's a competitive nature. So she's able to say my kids are this, my kids are that, my kids do this, my kids do that. Now, the way that she asks this photographer about the things that he do, it was in a judgmental way. And Wendy is just looking at, like, this man is an engineer, but photography is his passion, and that's why he's doing what he's doing. And she kind of starts the conversation with her mom about how, like, you pushed us to do these things, but it was for you. And I feel like everything that I was doing was for you. And she kind of touched on it last season, but she kind of just was like confronting her mother with it. Like, and her mother's just like, everything that I did was good. Like, the way I raised you was perfect. And she's just like, actually, it wasn't. Like, you've never apologized to me. With my children, if I do something wrong, I'm gonna apologize to them. And she's like, oh, please. Every day I came home, I hugged you and I kissed you and I say I love you and I apologize to you. And Wendy is looking at her like, were we living in the same world? Because that has never happened. So instead of her mother accepting responsibility, she gets upset. She says she's calling an Uber and she's leaving. She out of there because she pissed her off. And it's just like, you need to take some accountability in the things that you did. And it's not that your kids didn't turn out great or that they're not respectful or they're not grateful for you being there for them, but like, everything that you did wasn't correct and it may have not been in the right way, and that's okay. But whatever, she wasn't trying to hear it, so she got out of there. All right, so we switched to Ashley. Right, so she is setting up a date night with Michael at a hotel. The most interesting part about this is that Michael used to own the hotel. That's the only interesting part. But so they sit down there, drinking wine, eating cheesecake, whatever, and she brings up the vow renewal and the trip and how she didn't get much sleep. And I'm just like, girl, I know you're not about to blame G for you not getting enough sleep, because there was opportune time to take naps and go to sleep. You chose not to. So Michael is just like, oh, if I see him at the vow renewal, I'll say hi. That won't be an issue, but I won't be talking to Candace and that idiot. And Ashley tries to tell him, he really just wants to bury the hatchet. Michael's just like, no, when you have a wife who says nasty things the way she does, I'm not interested. Only person I want to hang out with is Juan. And I said, oh, Lord, not Juan. Michael is obsessed with Juan. And I'm just like, Michael, you need to relax. We haven't seen him that much this season, which has been kind of good. But Ashley is trying to have sexy time with him. Baby, we don't want to see you sitting on top of Brain from Pinky and the Brain. We are all set with that. I kind of threw up in my mouth a little bit. Like, production, y'all really made us suffer through the scene. Y'all didn't have to do this, for real. Like, they could have had that discussion at home. I don't want to think about Michael and Ashley, okay? So this episode ends with Giselle going to therapy, and she shows up with this jean top. Girl, where you get that jean top from? So anyway, she's at therapy discussing her relationships with her children, relationships with men, how she's pretty much closed off, how she's emotionally unavailable, and she gets into how she started to date her ex-husband again. And the therapist asks her, well, why did you start dating him again? And she was just like, I just felt like it was the right time. We were seeing each other a lot, and I felt like he saw me differently. He respected me. And you gonna get up here on this TV and lie when Monique spilled all of your tea, all of it, at the last reunion? Come on now, like, let's be real. Jamal ain't gonna change. He's the same motherfucker that he was when y'all was married. You needed a check. You needed a storyline, and this is why you guys were quote unquote together. And the therapist was just talking about, like, how do you think that your children see you, right? Like, this man has done all of that he's done to you, and then all of a sudden y'all back together, and now y'all not together again. And she's like, oh, before the pandemic we got to see each other a lot. It just felt like during the pandemic. Girl, that's not an excuse. Y'all don't even live in the same place. And she was just saying how like she wants a man, she needs a man, but she likes her space. She don't want to answer to men. Blah blah blah. The therapist is telling her that like when you're in a partnership, you should be answering to each other. And that's pretty much how it ended. I don't really know if Giselle got anything from it. He said that in her face it looked like she was vulnerable, but I didn't really get any emotion from her. And like obviously there's things that she's gone through and she doesn't have to share that stuff with the world, but it's it's just giving that you're not being real and transparent, and when you're on the reality TV, people like to see that. And when you choose not to, like, you have a dead end storyline. That's why you got to make up things like you're getting back with your cheating ex husband. I don't know. You guys let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Please don't. And I will speak to you next time.